This song, for some reason, this thing, as I was kind of discovering new music and just going, yeah, yeah, okay, sniff, yeah, pass, sniff, pass, taste, pass, and then all of a sudden this thing, and I'm like, whoa, there was something about this song. I love that. That's in my head right now. So I put this thing to the shelf, right on the shelf, waiting for an unsuspecting person like you to come along and say, hey, listen to this. And now it allowed me to kind of like get back into the song, and I love it. I'm in the shower and I'm like, I'm sleeping, the last few days before coming on screen. I can't get this thing, and I don't know. I love this song. I love the melody. I love it. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Into the Music, the amazing, best, fantastic, greatest reaction channel out there. Don't let them tell you anything different. Please. All right. Hey, so Andy, what's happening, man?
How are you, sir? I'm doing well, G.
So what cap is that? Is that your Orioles? Baltimore Orioles baseball?
One of my many Orioles fitted hats. I have a bit of an addiction to collecting Orioles new era fitted hats.
Yeah. A large audience out there of this channel is in UK. Right now, they're like, you Yanks and your baseball,
Yeah,
Who cares? Just get to the music. I love my baseball. And Andy he's a kindred spirit when it comes to that.
Likewise, we can commiserate over our awful baseball teams.
And so when we use metaphors, right? Like, that really hit it out of the park, huh?
Yeah. Or here's another curveball.
Yeah, I use that one. I use that one a lot. Yeah.
We've used that one. So yeah.
And people in UK like, what's a curveball? I don't get that. No, I'm kidding. UK like, yeah. I have a cousin, second cousin, who's in Ireland and huge baseball fan. Met fan. So
that's awesome. That's awesome to hear that baseball is still having some international effect, because you always hear about it with NFL, which I also love, but and even the NBA, but you don't hear like, oh yeah, there's a huge international following for Major League Baseball. So
I wonder if there's a huge following for this band I'm going to give you.
Excellent segue, Greg. Lay it out.
All right. Yeah. Clinic. Do you know the band?
Yeah, never heard of it. Is it just Clinic or is it The Clinic?
I think it's just Clinic.
Okay. No, I haven't heard this one.
I kind of like discovered this a few months ago. And it was initially like, I could tell, to me personally, it was going to be addictive. And I was going to like go back to it all the time. And I actually stopped myself. And I said, I'm going to put this on the list. And I have a lot of songs like that I'm going to give you and the other guys. And so, so this is Miss You. And this just grabbed me the first time. And for some reason, I didn't give in and just keep going back to it. I actually said, I'm going to try to like be good and put my hands down and no more clicking on that song and save this for one of you guys. So I'm going to give it to you. I bestow this upon you.
Okay.
You may want to throw it back to me.
In with reverence.
You may want to like throw it back to me, not a curveball, fastball straight in my face. Miss You by Clinic. Okay. Gave you the link. Go check it out and come on back and let us know.
Will do.
I will laugh.
I love when the drums pick up there. I don't know if he's doing that on a hi-hat. I mean, it's what it sounds like, but that I love for every time that has kicked in so far, which I think this is, at least this is the second time I've noticed that part, where it's just like every time it kicks in, I go. But yeah, this song it's interesting. It's got definitely a too cool for school kind of vibe going on to it, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just its own sound and it's very laid back, while still being engaging. So, good tune. There's a lot of pew pew pews going on right now, and you know, who doesn't love a good pew pew pew? All right. Yeah, that was a cool tune. It was for a song that clearly utilizes synth. It was well balanced. Like the guitar was still present, very much a part of the mix. The sort of traditional drums, again, very much part of the mix. But you can't deny the synth element as well. But it wasn't so heavy handed where it sort of distracted or it became just one thing. It was more of a balance and pulled from different elements of like rock music or just music in general. And I thought it was a sort of a good amalgam of those things and not just a heavy-handed iteration of one of those things. So yeah, great song. Another great recommendation. I'm sure at some point he's going to offer up a song that I'm just not wild about, but we'll see.
So what do you think?
This was it's funny because up until now they haven't been as the songs have been kind of black and white, kind of cut and dry. You knew what you were getting. It was what it was. This had a little bit more, I don't know, this was more varied in its sound or had more, it just had a lot of different things going on that I guess I wasn't expecting having listened to some of the songs we've recently covered, but that's a good thing. And it was welcome. And I really loved what I found to be like the blending of what I would have otherwise considered disparate sounds or, you know, kind of like hints to subgenres commingling together.
Yeah.
In a song. But I enjoyed it very much. And I think one thing, despite all of what I've just described, the one overriding thing that I'll say about the song was that it had a very psychedelic feel to it. I think sort of the vocal tonality, the too cool for school kind of, you know, laissez-faire delivery of the singer kind of added to that whole mellow mindset that kind of associated with psychedelic music and especially psychedelic rock. So yeah, I definitely got that vibe, but I also picked up like sometimes these surf guitar vibes in some of the work that was being done on the guitar. I also thought at one point during the very beginning of that interlude, sort of like a middle to 2/3 of the way, where it kind of like dropped off and built its way back up.
Yeah.
Where that was almost for, and this isn't long, so don't get it twisted, but for a second I was like, ooh, is that jazzy type guitar work I hear? Is that like a jazz chord or two?
Yeah.
To open up into that kind of more open sound in the music before it went back to the you know, and
right
of the rhythm and the bass. So yeah, it was interesting and varied. And then obviously electronic effects came into play throughout it. That was riddled throughout the song too.
Yeah.
Which reminded me more of like electronica type stuff. I mean, the drums in particular were very they just sounded like they were done on a drum machine, frankly, or where someone was pressing buttons or hitting pads with sticks rather than an actual like, deep or a drum set in front of a guy.
Yeah.
But it was a very cool, interesting song that I wasn't ready for, but I ended up accepting it and liking it a lot. Had some science fiction-y type sounds to it too, and at some parts that were kind of peppered in. And the one thing that really stood out to me was the sleigh bell that they so judiciously used at certain times, and didn't really. It was just like a one ring, and it was present, and then it was just gone until it made its next later down the line. It wasn't like it was like, and then it would move on. And that was always like kind of a little perked my head up whenever I heard that go off intermittently throughout the song.
Yeah, it's funny because I wasn't really picking up on I know that sound, but like sleigh bell, yeah, okay, that's really cool.
But usually when you hear a sleigh bell, it's a repetitive constant, like a ching, 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 ching.
Right, okay, that's why I wasn't really thinking. But
and it was just like one kind of resonant one, and then they would appear later at that part of
exactly. It was coming different. Yeah,
it wasn't.
Yeah. There's just something about this song. When I dug into the band before coming on screen, I maybe we'll be lucky if we get 70 views on this, because like if I go to Spotify, it doesn't seem like they have a lot of people going back to them each month. And they were a band, I think, that were around since like 1993. And it seemed like
so when did this come out? I don't know.
So this came out on their 7th album, and I believe it was 2012. It was off their album, 7th album, Free Reign. And it seemed like they have
7 albums and just completely fly under a radar.
Yeah, they may have more since that time, but it seems like they had some sort of momentum, in the earlier part of their career. They've actually opened up for bands like Radiohead and Arcade Fire, so you're not too shabby if you open up for those guys.
No, not at all. In fact, I love both those bands, and it makes the having heard their sound and you naming the bands, I've been like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. They'd be the opening act for those two bands. But it's interesting that having listened to so much work by Radiohead and a lot of what Arcade Fire did, especially when they were really, at it in sort of that early 20 teens kind of time period, that I didn't across these guys, or that someone didn't bring these guys up to me. But yeah, I guess that happens sometimes, such as life, right?
So they were formed in 1993. I'm in Wiki right now, and they were formed by Liverpool, formed in Liverpool by frontman Ade Blackburn, guitarist Jonathan Hartley, bassist Brian Campbell, and drummer Carl Turney. They were originally named Pure Morning, and then following the release of Free Reign, this album that I believe the song is on, in 2012, the band went on a 7-year break before returning with Wheel Tappers and Shunters. And that's the first album written solely by Blackburn and Hartley. So they've been a band that's been around a long time. They actually are noted. It's really interesting. If you go into Wiki and some other photos that show up when you type in this band, they were known for wearing surgical masks and kind of crazy outfits.
Time.
They were before COVID, right?
Wow. Definitely ahead of their time.
Ahead of their time, absolutely.
And with their fashion.
Yeah. Blackburn had stated that this is a homage to San Francisco bands Crime and The Resonance, and that, in quote, I liked the way there was a visual side to what they did, but it wasn't something too serious. It was like a tacky pun on the band name. I liked something a bit more ridiculous like that. Yeah. And so I'm not going to go through the whole, because Wiki has a lot about them. For a band that's not, that, Spotify is not showing a big following, there's a lot written down about this band. And like I said,
that's interesting. I wonder if that's indicative of like a very fervent minority, like they're, that they have a very passionate but niche audience, that's sort of like a cult following of theirs.
It might be, but it's really interesting. I mean, I don't know. I think I kind of like my musical taste, I can like get down and just kind of, it's like, I mean, I like my steak, and then I like just a greasy cheeseburger, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. And my music is like that, I can, for sure. I'm not snobby in any way, even though I might listen to something that's, artsy and all like that, and something that appeals to me, and then I can just get into rock. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that this song, for some reason, this thing, as I was kind of discovering new music and just going, yeah, okay, sniff, yeah, pass, sniff, pass, taste, pass, and then all of a sudden this thing, and I'm like, whoa, there was something about this song. I love that. That's my head right now,
Mm-hmm.
So I put this thing to the shelf, right on the shelf, waiting for, an unsuspecting person like you to come along and say, hey, listen to this. And now it allowed me to kind of like get back into the song, and I love it. I'm in the shower and I'm like, I'm sleeping, the last few days before coming on screen, knowing, I mean, I can't get this thing, and da 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 da. I don't know. I love this song. I love the melody. I love it. There's something about this song.
And there's something about songs of this type where it's like there are a few different things happening, different instruments, maybe things that aren't all doing the same thing. Like you might have in like a 3-man act where everyone's kind of they're on the same mission musically, playing the same part.
Yeah.
And this has listenability where you can like take, and so do those other ones, but this was that you can get. I feel like you can catch parts perhaps that didn't stand out to you in previous listens, or there's something you discover when you listen to it that maybe didn't stand out to you as much as other parts did when you previously listened to it. So these songs are always fun in that way too, where you can like, oh, now my favorite thing about the song is what's happening here musically, whereas 6 months ago it was what was happening there musically in the song. So these songs lend themselves to that, and that's always kind of a fun feeling if you're a music fan, to be able to find new redeeming things in songs that you've liked for some time.
I guess too, it's because the guitar, you got like the synthesizer sound, you got this kind of, where normally, I would probably say that sort of robotic, sort of computerized sound that you would hear. It was, I think the guitar was sounding like that a little bit, and then sometimes the voice was sounding like that sort of robotic, high pitched.
Yeah, it almost sounds like the what is it? Peter Frampton 2.0 with the talk box. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like through a real sort of computer. Yeah.
It's much more digitized now.
Yeah. I mean,
saying like
something that probably turns a lot of people off. Something about that was kind of fit with this,
It's all in the levels and how ham-handed you are with it, and where you pick and choose where to put it, and does it complement. There's all the like, one man's trash could be another man's treasure. In one area, this thing can
exactly. Like, well put.
Hot trash. In another spot, it's the perfect complementary like sound.
Cool. All right, man. All right. Well, you have a wonderful rest of the day, night. And to everyone out there, to the 4 or 5 Clinic fans out there, thank you for watching this video reaction. And we'll see everyone on the next episode of Into the Music.